Hey everyone, happy hump day. It's Kevin from beerfest.com, the craft beer community. Welcome to the show. This week, if you didn't catch it, we're going to be talking about the wonderful world of beer ratings. And I do have a special guest on who will be joining me just in just a little bit. But first, I want to confess that I don't usually rate or review beers on any level at all. If I have something I don't like, I just put it down and move on down the top line. And I'll drink another and repeat the process. But I know this topic is very important to many of you. I see your posts, I see your reviews, and many of you out there are all about online beer reviews and beer ratings. And I want to really dive deep into this and talk about things like, how do you rate beers? Or are they legitimate or not? Or, let's talk about how are beer reviews even helpful or useful? We'll get into everything beer ratings. And I encourage you, by the way, if you're at home drinking, just watch the show, kick back, relax, enjoy a few beers. This is live. If these shows goes well, we'll do more of them. We're trying to make them fun and entertaining and really get you guys involved, the viewers, and give you another outlet to express yourself. So stick around. We'll definitely take your questions at the end. And like I said, I'm not flying solo tonight. I do have a very special guest. His name is John Dispenza. He's co-host at Untappd's Drinking Socially podcast. He's a longtime Untappd user and member of the Untappd sales team. His background is full of hospitality experience, which culminated in a beer buying and marketing role for a large grocery chain. He approaches every beer as an opportunity to learn something. When he's not talking about beers, he's talking to the brewers about using Untappd. On Sundays, he can be found in a tiny garage wood shop surrounded by Pomeranians wondering what beers pairs best with walnut sawdust. So I'm really excited to announce this guest and his expertise in rating beer. I think you guys are going to find really interesting. And like I said, if you got questions, ask away. Let's do this. Without further ado, here he is, John Dispenza. John.
Thanks so much for a warm introduction. The Pomeranians will definitely be excited to be kind of in the beer fame world now.
Yes.
But, I'm excited to talk through this with you, Kevin, and hopefully get put on the spot by some people watching that ask me questions I'm totally unprepared for. This is the benefit of live TV, right?
Yeah, no, totally. It's just like, I feel like saying, hold my beer. Because you and I talk privately before we get into it, but not a lot of people are going live. And, it's a great opportunity really to be authentic, be real. This is unscripted, unfiltered. Say what we mean what we feel, and also get people involved because we want to hear your opinions, folks. This isn't about John and I, what we think. We're going to get you guys involved and take your question, right, John?
No one's ever wanted to hear what I think, Kevin.
That's the other thing, too. No one wants to hear what we think either. We want to hear what you guys think, not what we think.
Yeah, when we were talking about this earlier, Kevin, you told me that in this beautiful way that you want it to be kind of like a radio show where people can call in and it's like live on the spot. And that was something I grew up listening to, always wanting to be the lucky person that got on the show. So now here we are, fast forward, where everyone's got the internet in their pocket, and it makes it a heck of a lot easier.
100%. I'm with you. Growing up here in the East Coast, watching the Mike and the Mad Dog show and hearing those guys ramble on, it was entertainment, but I always loved the callers. Call it in and they get their 2 cents in about sports. And it was awesome entertainment. And I was like, well, let's do that for beer. Maybe you and I can be the Mike and the Mad Dog for beer. I don't know.
I never realized how much pressure there is just drinking a beer on a screen. But I'll tell you one thing, it's going down a lot quicker than if I were just sitting on the couch drinking this one.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, host your own talk show. You will drink more. That's one question. Well, let's jump into it. Beer ratings. And I think you heard my monologue there. I don't rate or review beer. If I like something, I swipe left. or right, I guess. I don't know. I don't even use Tinder, but what the beer ratings? I mean, so many online websites. You being on Untappd, and you're familiar with all of them. Like, let's talk beer rating for a second. And like, the biggest thing, me being a guy who doesn't do it, I want to know is how do you determine a good beer rating?
So you're not the only person that's asked me that question, even just today. And I think if we can make a comparison to art and rating beer, even though they're not really related, but it's kind of subjective. I'm drinking tonight. I'm drinking Spaten's Oktoberfest. It's that time of year, and I love every Oktoberfest beer, really. But I think a good way to open this conversation is if I would have drank this beer 5 years ago when I was chasing the bitterest, hoppiest West Coast IPA, I would have drank this beer and I would have rated it and said, this isn't what I'm looking for right now. It tastes like biscuits, malt, and old dudes. So, fast forward, now I am one of those older guys, or maybe it's just because I mow my own lawn, but for some reason now, 5 years in the future, I find Oktoberfest to be my favorite season of the year. So I think that if we just open up the conversation there, when you rate a beer, you should be doing it for yourself, whether you're a Cicerone or a BJCP, or you just learned that not all pumpkin beers are the same. At any rate, I think the goal is that you learn a little bit about yourself. You learn a little bit about what you think of that beer at a particular time. I want to just keep rambling and say easily the first sour beer I ever tasted years ago, I took a sip and I was like, oh no, I heard you say sour, but something wrong happened here. And it was a big adjustment. And, I didn't rate that beer because I didn't understand it yet, but it launched this journey of trying to discover, what the heck is going on with a wild ale and why does it taste so weird? And over time, ideally, I think if you're rating for yourself, you start to learn those little details. There's 7 bajillion IPAs on the shelf right now. Mm-hmm. So if you rated every one, you're doing God's work. But if you just rated like the ones that you drank and you really enjoyed or didn't enjoy, the end goal starts to be like you're kind of painting your own path to where you'd be able to look at an IPA on the shelf and realize, I love Mosaic hops. I'm probably going to like this beer because the last two ones. So that's my really long run-on sentence to get started.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think there's so many different online resources too to drink sites, and I guess we could start in our group, the craft beer community. Because if you ask me, our community really is a beer rating review site because people are posting pictures of their beer, and they're talking about it, what they think. And I'm going to show a little quote that we reviewed beforehand here, where someone I think spelled the online review system in our group very nicely. You know what I love about craft beer drinkers? No matter what I post, half are going to say it tastes like crap. The other half are going to love it. And 2 of you are just a-holes. Thank you for sharing that with the group. But I guess how do we navigate groups? I guess that leads me to believe, how do we navigate groups or social media to find beer that we might like and maybe avoid some a-holes along the way too?
Okay, so if you find a way to avoid a-holes, Kevin, we're starting a business together tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know, especially bring it out on social media to whoever wrote that post originally. I think those are the truest words of 2020, or maybe even of the last 5 years. And I think you're right. I mean, imagine brewing this beer, getting up at 6 a.m. You've already selected the whole grains all ground up for the recipe. You're mashing in. You hand it over to someone else. They finish it. You wait. It ferments. You bottle it. It goes to a grocery store 2 states down the road, and someone picks it up and says, I don't understand it. I hate this beer. The goal, right? No one wants to hear that about something they made. Hopefully that person learns, I don't like chili IPAs, tried it, didn't like it, and they move on and try a different beer. But I think like that kind of comes with it. There's what you got Beer Advocate, Rate Beer, Untappd, and a variety of other places you can go publish your beer rating for the world to see. And even if you don't subscribe to like a social media network like Untappd, in a beer group, like your group is gigantic. And I will also, you see people posting, I got this sick Berliner, no one's ever heard of it before, only one exists. And they'll say the same thing. I hate it, too much blueberry. I love it, too much blueberry. For me, a lot of times I can't get that beer, but if I'm fortunate enough that I can, it's just something to maybe take into consideration. That one guy on Facebook said that it had too much blueberry. And for me, that's exciting. I don't know if there is such thing as too much blueberry. So it might, ignite some passion when I read that and make me want to look for it.
Right. No, totally. And it sounds like, too, there has to be some substance to these reviews as well, that, you're looking for ingredients that you like and something well written. On the flip side of that, I've seen reviews, like I've seen some really beers rated low, and I read, and then I see that, well, I don't like this sour because I don't like sours, and they're rating it low. So based on what you're saying, really, when you're looking for reviews that'll help you, look for reviews that have a little bit more substance, that talk about the ingredients that you like and the styles that you like, and go that route, right? That's the best way to go.
If I asked you, Kevin, what's the best pizza in town, and you said, I hate pizza, I no longer want your opinion on pizza. I'll look elsewhere. And I think you should do the same. Like, one of the things I always advocate for on Untappd, you can use it basically as a digital beer journal, which is that was how I began using it, because I was the guy that was literally writing down notes about the beer I was drinking with pen and paper. And Untappd just allowed me to do it on my cell phone. And gradually I would, build my Untappd friends list. And if I'm going to look for someone's rating that's going to mean something to me, it's from someone that I know, like one of my friends, the guy who I host the podcast with. He loves German style beer. So if I'm about to buy like a Helles lager and he's already drank it, I'll look at his review, because I value his feedback there. For the vast majority of people that say, I hate lagers, your review is not going to mean much to me. So I usually don't even bother going to look.
And you have like a way to find these folks, like these experts that you're alluding to, like whose opinions you trust and buy, because they know, they're going to be candid and honest. And if they say it's a good lager or a Hefeweizen, and then you're going to want it. Like, is there a way to find folks like this on online beer review sites, or tell who they are?
I think probably the best way, right? Unless if you work at Untappd, one, what are you doing? You should probably be emailing someone. But if you happen to work at Untappd, it's your 9 to 5 is in the Untappd ecosystem. So you're more likely to stumble across a beer reviewer that you happen to like. But I'd make a comparison a lot to like Instagram. If you've taken up an interest in photography and you start following the photography hashtag and you find someone that's doing what you like, you follow them. And you can do the same thing on Untappd. If you love this Spaten Oktoberfest, you can look at that page and you can see who reviewed it, and that review kind of spoke to you. And you can just say, let's be friends on Untappd, because I want to learn lagers from you. In a perfect world, that's kind of how I made most of my Untappd friends over time, or then one, you see someone at a bottle share and you make a couple of friends that way. But I think it really comes down to a lot. If we put people in two categories, you use Untappd and use the ratings to kind of guide yourself into learning about beers that you like or don't like. Or then there's the other type where you use Untappd and you want a shortcut, and you just look at, show me that raspberry triple dry hop milkshake IPA because it sounds great. What's the review? If it's above 4 stars, I want to buy it. And a lot of, if I can speak candidly, I would do exactly that. If I was younger, I would want to just shortcut, show me what the best beers are, and let me get them all, which sometimes is impossible to do. So while I appreciate, kind of using the ratings as a shortcut, I think long term, craft beer is going to be here for a while. It's changing right now. It changes almost every year, but use the ratings to guide yourself more than, I don't know, looking at what a whole bunch of strangers think about a beer and forge your own opinion about it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Whether you're playing a short game or a long game, the best part is about craft. So many different styles and varieties out there. Why not make it a mission to try it all, like you said, and find your own tastes and find beer that you might like. Give it a shot. Like you say, if you're new to the craft beer, Untappd, obviously they make it like, how do you use Untappd to make it super easy to find the best rated beers for certain styles? Maybe you can explain that for some of the newbies that might be watching.
Yeah, no, good question. Because I think if you download Untappd today and you're used to Facebook or Instagram, it'll be a different kind of a change in the way the app's laid out. Because we drink beer and we're not app developers, at least most of us. Greg does great with it, of course. But anyway, if you put Untappd on your phone, and there's a couple of things you could do. Obviously, I'm going to advocate, find a couple of friends locally, even if, think of it not necessarily as like friends that you're going to hang out with. That'd be great. But local people that are using Untappd, you can see their check-ins. And at least the idea is that you guys will be able to access the same beer in the same region. So that should help kind of drive your decisions or the beers that you see. And then you can, there's a place on Untappd called The Pub where you can go and you can look at the top rated beers, or which historically has been Treehouse and Bourbon County for years and years. So that might not get you very far. But if you use your GPS, you can look at, show me the top rated beers in Fargo, in Santa Barbara, in Southern Florida, and it'll kind of key in on the beers that are getting checked in that area. So you can, almost like in the good old days, you would walk into a bottle shop and you would say, I really love Victory Dirt Wolf. Do you have anything that tastes like that? And they would help you out. One of the, in my opinion, best things Untappd does is give you that information right on your phone. Or if you're looking for Victory Dirt Wolf, it's a great IPA. You can also just type that beer into Untappd, and there's a way that you can just click the button that'll say find it. And as long as your GPS is turned on, we'll show you, is that available at a bottle shop or a bar or restaurant nearby, so that you can, I equate it to, it's almost like Tinder for beer, right? Like I'm looking for a specific blonde ale, and I type it into Untappd and we'll tell you what bar it's at, so you can go. This is getting weird. I'll shut up.
No, that sounds good. That's pretty much it. Yeah, because what's great is you could find, top rated beers, top reviewed beers, and then go meet that beer out for a date. And if you like it, it's going to get a great review. If you don't, maybe not. Man, they should make dating websites like this. Now I think of it, you go out on a date and you can review your date. Save some people some time. I don't know, but but that's good to know. Well, let me ask you this: is there any top-rated beers out there on Untappd that you may not have had but it's kind of like on your beer bucket list that you learn about from an or any online review or rating site that you heard about? It's good because it's hyped up, it's highly reviewed and rated, and you haven't had yet.
So the overall top-rated beers on Untappd, if I can boil them down, basically are Treehouse Julius and Goose Island's Bourbon County, and a bunch of variants. And there's some other ones that trickle in between. There's a lot of meads that show up as the top rated beers, which tell me we love sweet things. But I've had Bourbon County. I look forward to it still every year. This year is probably going to have some really fun variants as well. I think it's still a delicious beer. And Treehouse's Julius is worth the drive. For me, it was one of those few beers that actually lived up to the hype. But I feel like it wouldn't have been as impressive if I hadn't have drank a whole bunch of New England IPAs before. And then they were like, here's Weinstefaner's Vitus. Here's the perfect, and I got to taste that and compare it with all the other ones I'd had before. So I'm going in the wrong direction. The beers of the breweries that, at the beginning of this year, I set out and I said, in the States, there's a brewery in Florida called Angry Chair, and I've never had a beer from them. It looks like they really do stouts an incredible justice. And I said early on, in 2020, I'm going to drink Angry Chair. And we all know what happened in 2020. I haven't gotten it yet. So I got a little bit of time left, but I haven't been able to find any of them up in North Carolina. And overseas, there's a brewery in England called Wander Beyond. And in my opinion, they're making the most exciting beer in all of the UK. Buxton does good. Tiny Rebel's cool. There's a lot of great breweries over there, but Wander Beyond has just kind of shown up on the scenes. And they, in my opinion, according to my ratings, they make the beer that I'd be really excited to try. But it doesn't seem like I'll be able to get over there before the end of the year either. So sorry about the crappy answer.
No, that's a beautiful answer. I mean, there's some beers on my list as well. Obviously, Treehouse. I mean, you know, they're right next door to me in Mass, but they're just cranking out some great beers. And people make that pilgrimage to Mass just to get some of their brews. I just had which one did I have today? Why can't I think of the name right now? I didn't even drink that much, but the one with the space guy on there that they sell one can at a time. I just had. My wife is watching; she'll probably remember. But
hopefully, she'll send it in the count. This is why you need to check in, Kevin. Use Untappd as a memory pill.
You're making me a believer. Yeah, I'm converted because my memory is shot. But yeah, no, it's there's just so much good beer out there, and obviously Untappd and in these online review sites. And you know, I think it's safe to say even these Facebook groups are just great resources for, you know, more human ratings and reviews, you know, because you've seen what goes on in these groups, and people are asking what are good IPAs or what are good stouts or what are good this and that, or, you know, when they're traveling, you know, where should I go when I go? And people help them out real time, giving their suggestions. Now, I do want to say also in the group, one of my things is that, you know, obviously we're a craft beer group, but I never want to destroy anyone's taste for something they might enjoy, but we should always stay on topic, talk craft beer. And I always say to someone, instead of like ripping someone when they see a beer they don't like, let's just give them a kind alternative to something that, you know, might be a little bit better, you know, because that's the thing. I think some people, to me, the beer world has to be very welcoming, open arms. And if you have the knowledge, let's share that knowledge and let's educate folks in a fun way rather than I'm smarter than you, I know more about beer, and I want to berate you and belittle you because you're not as smart as I am, you know? So maybe talk about that. Like, is there, I don't know, on these online review sites, I mean, is there helpful? I mean, do people share my philosophy out there? I mean, do you think the community is out to help people find good beer, or just be pretentious wine snobs and brag about how much beer they know?
I'd love to hear what people, if anybody has an opinion on that. I think I'm going to go back to that post you shared initially where, you know, like I think there's a lot of craft beer drinkers that, you know, it's a hobby, it's a passion. It sometimes becomes a profession. And you do, even if you just drink a new IPA every day, you like kind of osmose a little bit more information. You're like, oh yeah, I saw DDH on a lot of the cans I liked. Then I learned that's double dry hop. Then I learned that's where New England's come from. And, you know, you just kind of like find yourself learning a little bit more about it. And I think you're so correct. There's nothing more dissatisfying than when you walk into that brewery or that beer bar you're a fan of, and you know they have 40 beers on tap or 60, or you know, it's huge beer menu, and you know, and you're just like, I don't know what to get, and they don't offer you any help at all. Yeah. I think a lot of times when I'm talking with a brewer, the first thing they want to cover is, you know, what does my brewery rating on Untappd mean, and how do I improve it, and how does that affect my business? And more often than not, the rating isn't what people are looking at to decide where they're going to go have a drink. If they're looking, you know, what's on tap. I really like Berliners. Is there a Berliner on tap? Now I want to go there. The rating doesn't mean as much to get them in the door. And all of that fails if they come in the door and, and your front of house staff or that person who greets you behind the bar is kind of off-putting because you're new to craft beer, especially with now that half of the beers are IPAs, and that's a tough beer to pick as your first. Like my first beer that kind of brought me away from domestic was Franziskaner. It was like an easy drinking wheat beer, and it was really before craft beer had happened in my life. But if someone would have given me an IPA and said, here, try this instead, I'd still be drinking Bud Light all the time. So I think you should be opening. You should say, hey, if you're looking for that, try this, tell me what you think, and share that knowledge, share your passion with people. Because that's how we get all these cool ass breweries that open every year and make more new, cool, exciting beers.
No, I'm with you 100%. And yeah, that's what we try to encourage folks to do. Let's be kind, be respectful, and share your knowledge in a positive way to help others. Because let's face it, we all started drinking craft beer somewhere. I think a lot of us started with these lagers that we no longer drink, but some people just might not know as well as you do. And, there's a way to we're here to recruit people to craft beer, not chase them away. And, when you're reviewing your, any beer online, just keep that in mind. That's what I want our community to understand. And by the way, we have about 3 minutes left on the show. I want to take some questions from our audience. Thanks everybody who stuck around and listened to our show, Talking Online Beer Review with John Dispenza of Untappd Drinking Socially podcast. So if you have any questions about Untappd that you ever wanted to ask, John is probably your guy. So let this opportunity slip by, ask away, and we'll lay it to John. Or not, whatever. But anyways.
Not nervous at all. Definitely not nervous at all.
That's right. No pressure. We're rambling on. Now it's your turn to say a few words, questions. Jen, I know you have questions. You have at least 20 for me, and now you're silent. Okay. Actually, someone just replied, Daniel Lowerly absolutely loved No Lie Brewery. Such a cool place on wine. Daniel, I've never been there, but that's one of those places I want to go up in Washington. I actually work with these folks, and there's cool people. Sounds like a small area, but, they have a really passionate base, and who knows, maybe after this pandemic, I can get up there. That's for sure. You ever go to No Lie, John?
I don't know if I should say this publicly. I've never been to the state of Washington. And I still have time to get to Washington, of course, but No Lie comes to mind. Spokane, I think, originally. And they're like the embodiment of, last I recall, small, independent owned, really proud of their area. And they manage to do this thing, which is kind of uncommon nowadays, where you have like a set of your core everyday beers that you produce very frequently, but they also manage to keep it exciting. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, when I'm talking to a brewery, it's one or the other. We're going to make 6 awesome beers and we're going to focus on them, or we're doing something brand new every weekend. Good luck keeping up. Both of them are great, but No Lie, that they would be on my list to visit in Spokane for sure.
No doubt. Thanks for sharing that, Daniel. Well, looks like we're coming to a close here, or that half an hour mark. So that was a lot of fun talking online beer reviews. I learned a lot. Like I said, maybe I'll download I do have the Untappd app, but I can't seem to log in. I'll talk to you about that post show. But it's good to know that. You know what it is. I'm gonna hit Untappd. I'm gonna start looking for beers that I like, ingredients, and make friends with folks whose opinions, like you said, we have to do the work and we have to do the research. And it's all available on these online sites. Just do your homework. There's a short way to go get the top-rated beers, or do a little research and read up on guys who know their stuff and are willing to share their knowledge and show you the ropes and show you the wonderful world of craft beer.
I couldn't agree. If you're looking for a beer fest in a normal world, you go to Kevin's site. which I visit frequently for the same reason. Like, what's going on when I'm visiting family back in Buffalo or whatever. Kevin's site has everything I need. It's like talking to everyone in Buffalo at the same time to see if there's something going on. And my hope is that if you're looking for a particular beer and you're visiting Buffalo, one, sorry, but two, when you get there, you can use Untappd and you can find, you know, where's Thin Man and where's Big Ditch, and you can find the beers you're looking for, like with an itinerary, like you're vacationing with Clark Griswold. But get the beer you want, enjoy it.
That's what life is all about. Get the beer you want, enjoy it. I'm going to put that on my bumper sticker. Our bumper sticker put on my car maybe, but that's what it's all about. Use Untappd, find a beer you like, enjoy it. That's it. All right, John. Well, it was fun talking to you. Thanks for doing the show. Hopefully we can do some more of these things, and we'll keep doing them, guys. If you liked it, comment, shoot me a message. I'm open to feedback as well. You know, you guys love talking beer, so we'll keep doing it. And stay safe out there, everybody, and drink good beer.
Prost.
Prost. Have a good night, everybody.